This story is going to be straight like it is. There's no editing, there's no hiding nothing, none of that. People need to see the real thing. We are done with the whole facade thing on the internet. I actually This is exactly what God told me when he told me to give this testimony. Just give it to them straight. Just give it to them straight. Be real and be authentic. And this is exactly what my life is about. So here we go. Part 2. So I grew up in a 2-parent home until I was 2, and my mom divorced my dad. We moved eventually from Central Texas to Dallas, from Dallas to Arlington, same thing, but from kindergarten to 6th grade, my entire elementary career, we stayed in Arlington, Texas. Now, background about what it was like growing up from ages 0 to 2. It was not the most fun house in the world. I'll say that. It's not the time to tell that part of the story. This is purely my testimony. So, my mom did everything on her own when it came to raising me, and she did a really good job of it. When we got to Arlington, it was an all-white area, pretty much. There were a few sprinkles of black people, but I grew up around completely white people. That gives you just a backstory of who I was from ages 5 to, how old was I? 10, 11. And then we moved to Houston after that. So going back to the time that we moved to Arlington, once I got to about age 7, God audibly called me. When I say audibly, I mean that with all of my heart. There is a story in the Bible about Samuel who was called by God audibly, just like me. I'll go ahead and read it so you can know what actually happened when I was 7 years old, because the story is identical. It says, 1 Samuel chapter 3, verse 2 says, "At that time, Eli, whose eyesight had begun to grow dim so that he could not see, was lying down in his own place. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called to Samuel. He said, 'Here I am,' and ran to Eli and said, 'Here I am, for you called me.' But Eli said, 'I did not call you. Lie down again.' So he went and lay down. And the Lord called again, 'Samuel.' And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, 'Here I am, for you called me.' But he said, 'I did not call, my son. Lie down again.' Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, and the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. And the Lord called Samuel again the 3rd time, and he arose and went to Eli and said, 'Here I am, for you called me.' Then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, 'Go lie down, and if he calls you, you shall say, Speak, Lord, for your servant hears.' So Samuel went and lay down in his place." This is exactly what happened to me at age 7. Did I know God at that time? No. And as far as what Eli had told Samuel about, oh, this is God calling you, you need to go talk to him, that's exactly what my mom said. Did my mom know the Lord? I don't believe she quite knew him at that time. I do know that she was starting to learn about him at that time, because I remember I had flashbacks of the books that she was reading, such as Rick Warren and things like that. So I know that at some point around that time, she was introduced to Christianity. And we were not going to church yet. I think shortly after that, maybe around age 8 is when we started going to church. But God was calling me at that time. At the same time, the devil was trying to intervene in that. Parents, go get your children. Go get your children, hug your children, get all up in your children's business. And I'm talking about small children, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because I don't care what you think that they can't comprehend. If you're not teaching them about the Lord, the devil will teach them about him. do it. I don't care if you think that they can understand right now. I don't care what you think. Go teach them about the Lord. Instill it into their minds, because the devil is going to be after your child. Around that time is actually when masturbation started. Age 7. When was I introduced to it? 3 or 4. It was daycare days for sure. I don't remember what ages, or what age I stopped going to daycare, but it was really close to that time. I want to say it was 3 or 4, because I was in pre-K for about 3 days when we moved to Dallas before moving to Arlington. So I was at a daycare to where children would just come into wherever I was at nap time and perform acts on me. I'm not going to get detailed, but that's pretty much what will happen. It would happen just randomly. Did I understand what was happening? Absolutely not. I only have memories of things, and then I can piece things together now, today, as an adult. But the devil is after your children. Whether it be he's telling the child to go and go after another child, or your child is the one that's the victim. The devil is after your children. If your children are in daycare, please put them in a daycare with cameras. If you can afford to not have your children in daycare, but they're there, please take them out. That's all I gotta say. So at that time, I do remember a staff member actually moving me during nap time to a room all by myself. I have lots of memories from very early ages. I don't know why, but I do. And I just remember being in a room by myself, but it wasn't a room where any other kid was technically supposed to be in. She just put me in there. And looking back at that today, it makes me question whether or not the staff knew what was going on, because I don't remember it being an issue like with my mom. Like, I don't remember them telling her or anything like that, or I don't remember anyone knowing except the kids. And even when they moved me into that room, there was a little boy that would come in and sneak into that room during nap time until he got caught one day. I'm very young, but I remember this. The devil is after your children. I don't care what capacity you think your children are thinking to. They can think beyond it. Sometimes you just don't know what these kids are doing. So I say all that to say the devil was after me at a very young age, because God called me at a young age. And as far as the masturbation, although I was introduced at a very early age, that didn't start until 7. So I don't see it as a coincidence that God called me at age 7 and that was happening. So shortly after that, we do start going to church. I'm around age 8. Now we're in the ages between 8 and 10. We're going to church every Sunday. It's a non-denominational church. It is a mega church in Dallas. And my mom also gets diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It's a very chronic disease that she still deals with today. It is induced by stress, just like all autoimmune diseases. If you didn't know, there is no cure for it, just like they say for everything else on this side of our world. But it was something that changed her life for sure. And of course, with her being an only parent, me being an only child and her being the only parent in the house, it did affect me to a certain extent. She was one that loved being outdoors. She loved playing basketball, loved doing a lot of things like that. And she would take me, but she couldn't do that as much as she wanted to all the time. And so there were ways that it affected me at that age. I wasn't processing that. I don't remember feeling like, wow, things are changing, like something is different.